Hello, welcome to the Opinionistics. I'm your host, Johnny Alone. And and of course, same old, same old. We'll see if we have co-hosts joining us. But our guest, introducing from nearby London, we have Kev Harrison.
Hello there. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Anytime. So, tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm a writer of dark fiction and horror. And yeah, I'm originally from near London, but actually now I live in Lisbon in Portugal, so across the water a little bit.
Okay, and how are you finding Lisbon right now?
It's really good. It's been absolutely boiling hot for the last month, which has not been normal at all. So, yeah, it's an Indian summer, but it's like an Indian summer on steroids. It's been really crazy, actually.
Dang. Is there any reason you're in Lisbon right now, or you're just like, just chill out in Lisbon? It's pretty nice.
Oh no, I actually moved here about 8 years ago. So I'm an English teacher by day. I write the horror and dark fiction sort of as my second job, as it were. But to pay the bills, I'm an English teacher. So I've been living here, yeah, for about 8 years.
Wow, incredible.
Mm.
And what books have you published since you started becoming an author?
Well, my first book that I published was a folk horror piece called The Balance, which is a novella. And it's kind of a retelling of the Slavic folklore character of Baba Yaga, which is kind of a folkloric witch that kind of lives in a lot of Slavic folklore backgrounds. That idea came about because before Lisbon, I actually lived in Poland for 3 years and kind of got a real understanding of the life there, of the language as well, and of some of their myths and folktales. I'm particularly interested in sort of the old stories of different communities. So like that kind of folklore and stuff really is the thing that that grabs my attention. So that was the first thing I had published.
Nice. And what inspired you to become an author?
Well, I think I always enjoyed creating, like the creative process. And when I was a kid, I used to write quite a bit, sort of creatively, but never really took it seriously. I always kind of thought that, being an author rather than a sort of a hobby writer was something that was for other people or like, chosen people or whatever. I don't know. But then about 6 or 7 years ago now, I had a bit of time available and decided to just give it a go, and seems to be going okay so far. So that was my first book, and I've had another couple published since then.
Okay, nice. And besides the countries you've lived in the past, do you ever travel to other places around the world?
Yeah, I do. I try to travel quite a bit. Obviously, COVID has curtailed that the last couple of years a little bit, but I do try to travel at least once or twice a year to different places. So, for example, this year I went to France to research the next book, the book that I'm writing at the moment, and then also for a little trip to Italy, and that was more, just to enjoy myself and have a good time.
Nice. And is there any places that you haven't been to yet, but you just really want to go there?
A lot, yeah. um, I mean, I'd love to go to South America. It's somewhere that really, really interests me, especially now I've been here for a while. I speak Portuguese as well, pretty well. So I think like communication in Portuguese or Spanish language cultures would be a lot easier than before I came here, for example. So that's high up on the list. Also, Japan. I'd love to go to Japan, and I've got a friend living out there, a really close friend living out in the countryside in Japan. I'd love to go and see where he is as well. So yeah, so those are the two places probably at the top of the list for me.
Alrighty then. And what has been your biggest challenge as an author?
I think the biggest challenge as an author is the thing we call imposter syndrome. I think probably the term maybe oversimplifies it a little bit, because it's not always just about thinking, that you're an imposter as such, but it's just that idea that like, because there are times I think when in everything you write, when there are things are not going well, there are elements you're struggling with, You'll read something back after a session that's been particularly grueling, and you'll think, "Oh God, this is garbage. I'm going to have to either completely reassemble it or bin it all together eventually." And that can be really demotivating, and sometimes it's hard to even face the page in those kind of times.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Hmm.
Is there a kind of book? Is there a certain type of book that you are planning on to publish sometime in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I've got, like I said, I've got this book that I'm writing at the moment, which is based around this sort of French folklore type thing, and that's going to be probably another novella, so probably like a shorter book, sort of 150 pages or so. And I've also got another book which I have had some good news about, but it's not been confirmed yet. And that's a book which is still very much horror, still very much based around folkloric kind of story stuff, but based in the Middle East, because I used to live in Turkey and I've traveled quite a bit around the Middle East as well. So it's one of those things where one of my friends who's a writer often says, if a book you want to read doesn't exist, then you have to write it. And so I did exactly that. And I went and wrote a book that was sort of, all these themes of horror, but based in a scenario that I knew well, but I hadn't seen a lot of horror being written about, certainly not in English.
Where was the most beautiful sunset that you've witnessed?
I've actually got a ready-made answer for that question, believe it or not. There's a place in Croatia called Zadar, and it's an old port town from I think it's about the 11th or 12th century it was built. And there's actually a place there where it says, welcome to the city of the most beautiful sunset in the world. And so I got there and thought, you take that kind of claim with a bit of a pinch of salt. But I went down there on a lovely evening. I think it's in 2014 or 2014, and just watched this sunset. And they actually have like a machine there that are like these lights on the ground that absorb sunlight, and then when the sunlight disappears below the horizon, the sun stops striking this set of lights. The lights then start illuminating, so you've got like these multicolored lights kind of like playing around on a random pattern while the sun has just gone down behind the ocean. It's really something else, like quite amazing.
Incredible.
Mm.
What is your favorite summer activity?
Summer activity?
Yeah.
That's a good one. I guess like enjoying the outdoors. I mean, like I said before, I live in Portugal now, so like I get to be outdoors a lot anyway. But having spent the first 30 years of my life in the UK, there's seldom kind of long periods of time where you can be outside, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the fresh air, that kind of thing. So just being able to do outdoor things, whether that be, have drinks, food, spend time with friends or whatever, go to the beach, anything like that, but something outdoorsy anyway.
Cool. What catchy jingle or bit of advertising has stuck with you ever since, like forever?
Oh my God. That is a tricky question. Advertising or jingle? There must be something, I suppose. I do always remember when I was a child, there was a series of adverts for a soft drink in the UK called Tango. I don't know if it exists anymore, but one of them was almost banned because it had a big orange bald man slapping another man to kind of express the idea of refreshment from his drink, or the crispness of the orange, or something like that. And it always made me laugh a lot. So yeah, it always stays with me, that TV ad.
Interesting. Do you like spicy food?
Yeah, I absolutely love spicy food. In fact, I kind of collect hot sauces, which is a bit of a weird thing. Some of them are like, very flavorful and quite mild. And then some of them are like kind of, like nuclear devices. At times you have to be really careful with them or you might hurt yourself.
Okay then. What application that you can't believe doesn't exist yet?
I think maybe like a better voice recognition software for like commanding devices to do things. So I mean, obviously we've got like Siri and Google Assistant, but they really aren't very effective. And most of the time, the things you ask them to do, you end up with kind of an inaccurate sort of approximation of what you've asked for, or just something completely different altogether. So I think, yeah, like proper, good, readily available voice recognition for commands, I think is something that it blows my mind that no one's made it better.
Oh yes, absolutely. What is the best pair of shoes that you own?
I'm a bit of a devotee of the brand Skechers because like they're just the most comfortable shoes in the world. And as I'm in my 40s now, I'm kind of at this stage where like comfort trumps everything else. I run as well, so I need my shoes to be comfortable when I'm not running, so I don't like destroy my feet, or my feet are comfortable when I've been running. So I have an array of Skechers shoes, all of which are quite fabulous.
Cool. Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
I have indeed had a paranormal experience. I can't say that I know exactly what it is, but basically, when I was about 16 years old, I was dating a girl of origin from Sri Lanka, basically, her family. And I was staying at her house one weekend. Where I was like, late teens or whatever. And her family were away, so I was staying over there. And one day I woke up in the morning. Well, it wasn't just after I woke up. We'd been awake for some time, and as she'd gone to make tea downstairs, I looked in the mirror and saw an old white lady, like looking at me from in the mirror. And I'm a complete atheist. I don't believe in any religion or anything like this at all. So for me, I was really like, what the hell? And basically, what first occurred to me was that the girl's mum, was not a white lady. So who on earth was this woman standing in the room? So when I looked over to where she was apparently standing, according to what I'd seen in the mirror, there was nothing there. And I thought, oh my god, I must be like tireder than I realized. And then I looked back to the mirror, but she was still there. And each time I looked away from the mirror, she wasn't there. When I looked in the mirror, she was there. And then she went to speak to me, like she moved her mouth as if to speak to me, and I was absolutely petrified, legged it down the stairs, like ran as fast as I could. And the thing that made it creepiest of all is that when I got to my then girlfriend, who was making tea in the kitchen, she said, "Oh, did you see that woman in my room?" And she described her exactly as she was. And I was completely horrified that she'd never told me about this before.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could travel back in time, what decade would you want to live in?
Oh, cripes. That's very tricky. Maybe the 70s, because I'm a big fan of like rock and metal music, and there's kind of some golden age bands that I could try and go and see during that period. That would be really ticking my bucket list options.
Alrighty then. What kind of music do you often listen to?
Like I say, there's a lot of rock and metal on my playlists normally. I used to be into very, very heavy, like sort of death metal and black metal as a youngster. I still listen to bits of that sometimes, but I have got more into more melodic kind of rock and metal these days. So I listen to a lot of progressive rock and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Alright then. Would you consider yourself to be an extrovert or an introvert?
I'm kind of one of those extroverted introvert people. Like if I click with someone, I find it very easy to communicate and chat, all day and all night, no trouble at all. But for example, a party where I don't know anybody at all, I'm the kind of person who might kind of step away a little bit from the action and kind of observe people, certainly until I feel comfortable with the people that are there, that are around. So that's probably, yeah, a pretty good summary.
Nice, nice. If your mind was an island, what would it look like?
It'd be pretty messy, I imagine, because I think about a lot of things all the time. Like I'm quite a bit of an overthinker, I would say, and so I'm often thinking about a lot of different things at the same time. So yeah, probably a very untidy island with that could do with a bit of arranging.
Alrighty then. Would you rather be transported permanently 500 years into the future or into the past?
I mean, at the moment, I feel reasonably pessimistic about the future, with things like climate issues going on and like the current political situation in various parts of the world. But then, having said that, going back 500 years, where would that put me? 1500s. Also, not really the most civilized kind of society. So, I'd probably just toss a coin, whichever way it goes. Fine.
All right. Okay, I can see that. How did you spend your last birthday?
My last birthday. Oh goodness. I don't really remember what I did. I think it was a reasonably quiet one. I did plan a big birthday for my 40th, but that was slap bang in the middle of the COVID pandemic, so that got all cancelled. And since then, I haven't really had much of a blowout. So I imagine I ate something really good at a restaurant with my missus rather than doing anything particularly over the top, I suspect.
Okay, that's good. Are you a cat person or a dog person?
I actually love animals of most varieties, like really. But I have always had cats around since I was a kid. And right now, I have two cat friends who are essentially the bosses of the house. And I'm just here really to service their every whim.
Nice, nice. What takes a lot of time to master, but it's definitely worth it?
I think a lot of things do. I think languages take a lot of time to master. I think it's one of the things that I have enjoyed most in my life in the end, but I've had immense frustration with. And I do see a lot of people giving up during that difficult phase, and therefore kind of not getting the benefit of being able to watch a movie in a different language without subtitles, for example, or being able to hold conversations with people in a kind of quite a deep way in a language that isn't your first language. I think it's a really cool thing to master, a really, really satisfying thing. And I think a lot of people say after a very short time of trying, say, "Oh, I'm not a linguist," and kind of give it up. Whereas I think anyone can get there if they persist enough.
Cool. If someone wrote a book about you, what do you think its title would be?
Oh my god. I don't know. I think probably something to do with a lack of believability, because I do have quite a storied existence, considering I grew up in a crappy little town called Woking. So I've done quite a lot of things. I've been in a metal band. I've done a lot of traveling. I've been a writer. I've had some weird experiences. I've been in a silent vampire film on Channel 4 once, many years ago. So yeah, lots. So yeah, I guess something about unpredictability, I suppose.
What flavor of ice cream do you wish existed?
More ice creams with coffee, but not just coffee, like coffee and stuff. Like a few years ago, there was a limited edition coffee ice cream. It was like coffee, like macchiato brownie or something. So it was like chocolate brownies with macchiato coffee, and it was absolutely the business. But normally with coffee ice cream, it's just coffee and nothing else, which is a bit boring or a bit overpowering. And I really, really like the combination of coffee with other things. So yeah, something like that would be amazing.
And what is your favorite kind of dessert?
Definitely tiramisu. And this summer, as I was saying before, I went to Italy, and I actually went to Sicily, and I had planned to go to Marsala, where they make the wine that they put in tiramisu, and booked like a wine tasting at this vineyard, and I was going to get tiramisu from the real place. And then my wife was unwell, so we could not go. Very sad, very sad.
Oh, that's very unfortunate.
I know, right? Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, it's so sad. If you could see one movie again for the first time, what would it be?
Good question. There's been a lot of movies that have had a very profound impact on my existence. I think I'm going to go for the Korean film Old Boy, directed by Park Chan-wook, because the impact of the ending of that film and some of the scenes during the film as well were just so profound. And even the second or third time I watched it, it still really, really struck me very hard. But I've seen it enough times now, having introduced other people to it, that it wouldn't hit me quite as hard. So to be able to experience that for the first time, the rawness of that reaction, yeah, I think that would be something quite amazing.
Nice. Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
Hopefully still alive. Probably, I mean, I really hope that I would be in a position where I've got a lot of a wide back catalogue of books available, and I would hope that I have improved a lot in terms of my writing craft and my ability. And if I could have a book converted into a film or a TV series, I mean, that would be something that would be an absolute dream, not just because of that experience, but also because of the way it kind of shines a light on your written work more and enables you to find a wider audience of readers for your material.
All right, then. And that is all we have for this episode. It's great having you here, Kev, talking about
Okay.
your work as an author and all your travels and everything else. It's been amazing.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anytime. And until next time, stay opinionated.